So I'm in the bus and JP's here making some content for us, and I was like, hey, let's do some quick questions about the bus life stuff. So we're gonna do 11 questions about bus life that somebody who knows nothing about bus life wants answered.
So I kind of sat down, I was talking to Caleb, and I was like, what people need to know when they're going into a bus? I personally don't have a bus, but I always see them rolling down the road, and I'm like, man, that lifestyle seems kind of cool. One of the first questions that came to my mind was, what type of vehicle performs best for my needs? I know you've talked about, you have school buses like this,
Yeah.
that are like super old.
It's like, do you want like a short little bus like what this thing is, or do you want like a 30-foot long bus, or do you want like a huge 40-foot long bus? Solid question. I think it all comes down like situational. These buses are great because they're nimble, they're short, you can park them anywhere. It is a big thing, but you're not like really dragged out about driving a big thing, but you have limitations. So like clearly a lot less square footage in this thing. Like this is 22 and a half, 23 foot long versus this guy is 40 foot. So you get twice the space out of this. These are great if you're gonna live in it full time. Like if you're gonna live in it full time with like 2 people working, traveling, like doing the thing, this is a great size. I think 40 foot's a little large. 35 is like my preferred because as long as you're strategic on like the organization, you can fit a lot in that space. This is also great for like 1 or 2 people that like they're minimalist. Like you only have 1 season's worth of clothes because you're chasing the 70-degree temperatures. So if you build these out effectively enough, then you're comfortable in any of it.
Right.
But it's also like just use case of, hey, I don't want to have my toilet in my shower because you have to do that in this size, or if not, you're not gonna have a toilet or you're not gonna have a shower.
Yeah.
Versus this, you can have your separate bathroom, powder room, shower.
Yeah. So it's like, say I wanna sell the house, wanna get rid of the house, I'm gonna live in something like this. But if I'm trying to go explore West Coast, if I'm gonna try to go to like the salt flats, I definitely want something more like this.
Yeah, and it's like in your case, this is the perfect size for you to go out and shoot and do the things, and then come back here, have a sleeping quarters, cook a meal, work on your editing, be able to take a shower, and then sit on the rooftop deck and go hang out at the spots that you're at. So for like a single person or like a couple that's just like trying to go out and have a good time, like solid rig for sure. But it is also built for full-time living. You just don't have as much storage. So you have to be more strategic on like what you're doing, what you're bringing, and how much you're using it.
Well, that rolls into my second question. I'm looking at these buses and I'm seeing you're building a lot of stuff, you're putting a lot of stuff in here. How much weight can a vehicle safely carry once it's converted?
So I was really surprised when we had built our bus. Our bus was a 2004 International FE300. It's a 35-foot long school bus that came out of New Jersey. The GWRV, the gross vehicle weight rating, was 30,000 pounds. That's the max that bus is designed to carry. When we started building it out, I had it weighed and it was right at like 16 or 18,000 pounds, like just dry, like just the bus itself. After we had built it, I was really curious because we did a full tile shower. We did a full custom mortar, like cement shower pan. We had 100 gallons of fresh water. We had butcher block, wood, all the things inside of it. We had 60 gallons of diesel. I had it weighed, like fully loaded, 22,700 pounds. We added 5,000 pounds worth of stuff, but we're still 7,000 pounds below the max weight for the vehicle.
And I imagine when you're taking stuff out, you kind of get some weight back in when you're adding more stuff that matters.
So like when I demo a bus and scrap it, I probably scrap usually between, like on a smaller bus, like 600 pounds, on a full-size bus, like 1,500 pounds. Because like between the ACs that we take out, the condenser underneath, all the seats, the wheelchair lift, God, those things suck, they're so heavy. We take all those things out and we strip it down to just the skins of the bus. Wood is lighter than metal, so we're not adding that much. Like to this bus, when it's all said and done, I will probably have added 4,000 pounds worth of stuff, maybe 3,000. And like a lot of that's the solar stuff. Like these batteries are like 100 pounds each, and we just did a bunch of tile on this bus. So you add a fair amount of weight, but still like way lower than what it's supposed to be.
Gotcha. Well, question number 3 that I've been thinking about, what is the best layout to balance comfort, storage, functionality in a small space? This bus right here, not the biggest space, but when you're traveling, you kind of are able to be super cautious of that and know exactly where things want to be, where you should put stuff. I know in the past you've talked about having like a garage in the back of your bus. That was super cool to me to just like see.
You have to have a space to put all your extra stuff.
Yes, having a space to put your kids' bikes, having a space to put the hamper, things like that. Because when you're driving around, 2 feet is like a lot of space.
Yeah, I mean, you think like our garage space in our bus and the one back that we just did a tour of, that was 18 inches. Like you can fit a lot of things in 18 inches worth of space. I mean, like I had our kids' like RC car in the back of that bus. When I build a bus, I'm trying to get as close to a house as possible. So what does a house have? It has a bedroom, it has a kitchen, it has a living space, it has a place to eat, it's got a place to shower, it's got a place to go to the bathroom, and it's got a place to store all of your utilities, all your things. So what layout can we do that is not only going to give you all of those things, but do it in a way that is comfortable? So that also comes into the real conversation of like, what do you think you need versus what you actually need? And because we lived in a bus for 2 years, and it also took us 2 years to plan that, and because we also lived in our FJ, we realized that when we cooked meals at the house, we didn't use 3 burners or 4 burners. We just used 1, maybe 2. So if we're gonna take up a countertop space of 5 feet long and add 22 inches to it for a 3-burner stove on something that we're only gonna use 1 of, like that doesn't make sense. So like, let's not utilize that. Even though I had the idea of I need a full-size oven, okay, well, you're gonna use that 15% of the time.
Yeah, just get an air fryer.
Yeah, get an air fryer toaster oven, which is what we did. And instead of losing that dedicated space for something you're gonna use 50% of the time, turn that into a drawer for more pantry space because we always want more food there. So it's just like thinking about the way that you're gonna use this bus, not how you think you're gonna use it, but how you actually live. And it's like, I need a spot to put surfboards and skateboards and my kids' stuff. Like that's what we use on a day-to-day basis. That's what I need to store. It's also like, what's your goal? Like we wanted ours to feel like 2 separate spaces. We love having the side hallway because you have your back living quarters and then you have your front living quarters. Like your kitchen, your living room is one area, your bedrooms are another. So that hallway helps separate 2 spaces. So you feel like you're in 2 different buses versus when you have a small bus, you don't have that option because it's all close together. So you want to eliminate as many walls possible so that you can open up as much space possible. So, but with that, then you don't quite have as much storage because you don't have walls to put things and cabinets to do that. So it is always the balance. And like we haven't done a layout that's been similar to anything else. Like every single thing we've done has been different. They've been variations of them. Like we typically do a garage or like a huge underbed storage, but they're all different use cases. And it's like, there's not one size fits all. There's not even 3 sizes that fits all, which is why bus building is so tricky because you try to build off a bunch of people's ideas.
So number 4, the next question that I have is, you've talked about a power source, you've talked about solar. How many years is this in the van life?
We've been traveling for 6 years. Yeah, I've been in it like 6 or 7 years between the FJ, which was just a cart and with a rooftop tent, the bus that took us 2 years to build and 2 years in. Yeah, we're like 6 years in.
6 years in, what is the most reliable power system setup that you've worked with? Whether it be gas or battery off the car or solar?
The most reliable source is none of them. Redundancy is like the important part. Like redundancy is like, let's have multiple different types. Like solar's the go-to because it's the most consistent, but it's not the most reliable because it's the sun. So having something that can charge your batteries with the sun is great, but then also having a backup system like a generator or your alternator is like the move. If I said, hey, if you have a budget, I would focus more on more panels because that just soaks in more energy and then into the batteries. So that would be my answer. The way I describe solar is like, remember when we had phones attached to the wall and then we couldn't like leave the kitchen, and then we had cordless phones that we could like walk throughout the house, and then we had cell phones that then allowed us to go out into the real world? That's what a generator is and solar is. The generator is a source that you're stuck to, that you have to keep charged, that you have to keep fueling, that limits the places you can go. And then solar is the wireless thing that you can take wherever you want and have whatever, everything you possibly need.
Number 5, the next question I have. With stuff like this, it looks like some of these builds are pretty like set in stone. I noticed there's a lot of like sheet wood. If I was to design my own bus, how would I design the build so I could easily repair things or modify later if I want to?
There's not really a specific material. The biggest part about doing a bus build is doing it strategically. Doing things in line that if something were to happen, you could address. Let's say your pipes in the insides freeze. Well, how do we make sure that that doesn't happen? Well, we keep a lot of insulation first. So we insulate the bus, then we put up our pipes for the water lines inside the bus. And that's one of the few things that's like, it's probably not gonna happen. If it is, like a lot of other things got ruined anyway. So it's keeping things accessible, and it's keeping things that like all of our plumbing that we ever do is inside the bus. Like it's inside in the insulated space that even if it does hit -10, the inside of the cab is still probably gonna be like 30 degrees. And then keeping things adaptable and giving yourself enough space. One thing I failed on with our first bus is I built the space for the thing so that when that thing fails, because things will fail over time, it's going to be harder to adjust to. So when we build out our spaces, we say, hey, this is where the water tank is. You can either find the exact same one or you can accommodate for more space. Fortunately, a lot of things are also built very similarly dimensionally.
Symmetrically.
Similar dimensionally. That's like a tricky one.
Oh yeah.
So there's not a whole lot of variables that you have to have. It's like, hey, let's give ourselves a 3 foot by 2 foot spot for all of our electrical, and then you'll be able to add something to that later.
Going off of insulation, when you're traveling, like you have a lot of windows. How could I maximize natural light without sacrificing insulation or privacy?
Super solid question. The best thing that we found when we were in our bus were these, they're called cellular shades. They're like waffle, or like baffles, like waffle baffles. They have like an open cavity in between the 2 layers that allow for the heat to come in but not cross through. So they're called cellular shades, solar shades, but they're a thermal break between the windows that are letting heat in to not getting past that insulation. Because if you put those things in, dude, what a game changer. You can get them at Lowe's, you can get them on Amazon. They're called cellular shades, but that makes a huge difference for the heat transfer for the glass. We're always an advocate for taking out as many windows as possible, just because windows leak, they break. If you take out the window, then you permanently have great insulation there. You give more wall real estate. So we're an advocate for taking out as many windows, but we also want to see the really cool spots that we're at.
Yeah, you're driving through America or wherever you are, and you
want these big spots. So that's what we found is the best, is these cellular shades. They work great.
Next question that I have is, what is the best flooring choice for durability? We talked about weight earlier. Obviously, you might not want to put tile down or something like that. I feel like that would add a ton of weight, but like maybe linoleum or something like that. What have you found that is useful with bus builds?
So we've done all of it. So the only thing we haven't done is like a vinyl sheet, and primarily because it's really cheap, it doesn't bond well, it's really tricky to install. But it is super cheap. So we haven't done that yet. We have done hardwood, we've done bamboo flooring in our bus, we've done a lot of LVPs. Life-proof has been our best option, and the trick with doing flooring is doing flooring at the end. You do flooring at the end because as you secure all of these walls and these cabinets and things, you're screwing them to the ground. As the bus moves on curbs and roads, it articulates and flexes. So the back might be like this and the front might be like this. So if you did that on top of the flooring, or if you did the flooring underneath all those things, the parts that they interlock will snap.
Yeah, it would shift around.
So doing the flooring at the end is like the best thing. As far as like materials, you get the best that you can afford. Like I don't think hardwood's necessary. It is great stuff, but that's more of like a luxury thing, not a functional thing.
Right.
Life-proof has been our choice. Had bamboo in our bus, and that was just really nice because it felt natural and organic, but then was also a very durable surface as well. And then like the trick with flooring is you get lighter flooring, it's not gonna show as much dirt. We put dark flooring in the handicap, or we put dark flooring in the massage bus that we did, and just saw every little dirt. So you're going to be out in the belt, sand, mud, grass.
Right, very mobile. So you probably don't take your shoes off as much.
No. And one cool little hack too is adding the coconut mats at your stairway and using that as like an actual wipe off spot.
Right.
The move.
The mud room, if you will.
Yeah.
So we talked about flooring, and another question number 8 I thought of is, should I prioritize a fixed bed or a convertible sleeping space? You've talked about like almost like a trundle or something that folds up onto the wall, just to like maximize space.
So in our first bus, we did a futon in the back bedroom. We're like, oh, like if we're gonna have this space, let's make it so it's actually like a couch and we can come back here and hang out, or like the kids' play spot. The reality is we never used it as a futon, so we stopped doing that. We just turned it into a fixed bed. It's pros and cons. Like if you have a fixed bed, you open up all of the storage, but it's a dedicated spot that's designed for that thing.
I'm sure like if compared to from this space to this space, you'd probably want more of like a fixed bed in here and more of like something that you could convert. Yeah, one of the best tips that I heard when we were building out the FJ was when you go minimalist and you start thinking about the things that are in your bus, think about the importance of that thing. If it's gonna take up a dedicated spot, it either needs to do one thing very, very well. So like in the instance was like a gun. Like if it's gonna take up space, like that's the thing that you want to do one thing very well. Or if it's like a pot. A pot is not just for cooking, but it's also like a way to carry water. It's also a way to clean dishes because you now have the surface. So it's a multifunctional thing versus like with a bed. Like in this bus, we're gonna do like a trifold bed. So it's gonna turn into like a dinette as well. So we're gonna have a section here, a filler section, and then a section over there. These pieces are gonna be fixed because they're gonna be covering the solar stuff and the water stuff. This other space is gonna be open for storage, but if you don't need all that storage and you want to use it as a dinette, you can do that. Question number 9. So converting space, it's important to like make sure that you have a lot of room. What's the most effective way to add a kitchen to your setup? Do you think, we talked about like having an air fryer. Do you think a kitchen is worth taking up space? What do you think about a kitchen? Like, is that something that, are you gonna have a kitchen in this bus as opposed, like I assume that there's definitely a nice kitchen in this bus. But this one we know it doesn't have the same amount of space.
Yeah, when you're in a smaller space, you're not gonna be in the smaller space as much. You're gonna be out of the space. Our kitchen in our bus was a good size because we had a good living area, so that's where we hung out at. This kitchen in this bus is gonna be smaller because we're not gonna be in this as much. We're gonna be outside of it because just the reality of a cabin fever creeps up real fast when you're in 4 smaller walls. So it's like, all right, I'm not gonna be cooking in this as much as I would something like this because I don't wanna be inside this as much. We're thinking about, like we did this outdoor table with lights. So we've got lights here because we're gonna be out here hanging out more than we will be inside. This is not gonna be so great when it's raining or crappy weather. So we have the inside space. So we're still gonna use that. If it's gonna take up a amount of space, it's how important is that space? How much are you actually gonna be using it? People are like, oh, I need a bunch of countertop prep space. It's like, well, you're not gonna be making a 9-course meal. You're just gonna be using the 2 pots that you have because you don't wanna do a bunch of dishes because you're not gonna use so much water. So it's just the reality of actually using all these
it's
things.
like don't overconsume, almost kind of the same situation. It's
yeah.
Like, just use what you need, that's about it.
And that's the point that it gets overskewed is like, people think about how they're going to use the bus versus the reality of how they're actually going to use the bus. Like we're all, what is it, characters of instinct or characters of habit? Mm-hmm. Yeah, characters of habit. So like, we're going to keep doing the same kind of things. Like the meals we made at our first house versus what we did in the FJ versus the bus versus our current house are all the same. They're 1 or 2 pot meals. We're probably going to grill something outside.
Yeah.
So it's like 2 burner, grill spot, outdoor lights. Like that's it.
Yeah, you don't need to take up space in your living quarters where you'd have a bed or something like that.
Yes.
That moves me on to question number 10. We talked about the solar power and how it's not the best. I know that when it comes to like a cloudy day, like February, I'm sure it's hard to get power. How much battery capacity does solar add to the bus? I know that we talk about like Teslas taking charge. Like, does solar really contribute that much battery power or?
Solar is solar is a collective group of things. You have your solar panels, your inverter, your batteries, and all the things that make everything work. The batteries is what holds all the power, like your fuel tank. The solar is the fuel that charges it, and then your engine is the inverters and stuff that make everything run. So the bigger the gas tank you have, the longer you're gonna go. The more fuel you can get into your tank, the faster that's gonna fill up. So there's a balance of having as much solar on the roof to fill up that battery as fast as you can, because if you've only got 2 hours of sun because it's a bad day, then you want as much absorption into that battery as you can. But then you are gonna run out of that battery fast because you're still trying to run all this stuff. So you're trying to power a diesel truck with a tiny little Prius fuel tank. That's just not gonna work.
Yeah, so it just gives it a little more oomph.
Yeah, so you need like a balance of both. And my opinion is put as much solar on the roof as you can. Like in this case, we have like 2,000 watts. We still have enough for like a little deck, but 2,000 watts is a lot for this little bus. And then get as much battery as you can. 2 is kind of like 800 amp hours of lithium at 12 volts. It's kind of like our preferred because it's quite a bit. It's more than our first bus, but it's also $3,000. So there's a return. Like the solar panels is harder to add to later because it's built more specifically for the panels versus you could just buy another battery later. So that's kind of our preference. And the solar market is constantly changing so much that what we had on our bus back then isn't as superior to what this is today. And this won't be as superior as what it will be in 5 years.
Yeah, it'll change up a little
bit. Going back to your other question, is adapting to everything so that you can add things to it later and expand and grow as your life changes too.
Last question, number 11. What design tricks help make a small space feel bigger and less cluttered? My first thought is like adding mirrors or even adding just like spaces to put things. Mirrors would make it feel bigger, and then less clutter would be having places to put stuff. Yeah.
Like we've only put like 2 mirrors in a bus because they're just like a functional thing to like see how you look when you get ready. But that's right, in a house you put mirrors to open up space. The 2 things that open up space here, we can walk in and I can show you pictures of comparisons. I just put these walls in yesterday, and this is gonna be the closet. It's a functional thing. You wanna hang clothes. So you want a place to actually hang your clothes because if you have dressers or long stuff, like you need a closet. But when I put these up, now this is a space. This whole area is a space, and then this is a space. So it's great because it's now nice and cozy back here. If somebody's sitting here and I'm sitting here, like that just doesn't work. So that's number 1, is like get rid of as many walls as you possibly can to open up the space. And then lighter colors also work great. Like going white, going bright, it reflects more light, it brings the outside in. When you go black, when you go dark, it just closes all the closet. So it's not very welcoming. Those are the 2 things. Thanks.
Well, that kind of answers everything.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Like it if you like it, dislike it if you don't, and if you could subscribe, I'd really, really appreciate it. And for now, yeah, we'll keep going.